Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Surviving and Thriving, the Black Experience with Candace Renee. Today, I want to thank you for choosing to watch my channel, for tuning back in for all of these episodes based upon my series called Field House Boardroom. Last week, we discussed the topic of colorism and texturism in the office place in regards to the topics that I've been diving in and just expressing and breaking down these things that we experience every single day. So today, I want to sit here and honor guests with a powerful voice in the space of wellness and holistic living. She's a certified, keyword, certified natural health professional, a dedicated and wonderful mother, and a passionate advocate for healing and empowerment in our communities. Please help me and join me in welcoming Christina as she shares her journey, her expertise, and insights regarding tokenism and who gets to be the safe Black. So welcome, Miss Christina. Welcome, welcome.
You. That
How are
was such
you?
a lovely introduction. I appreciate that. I usually don't do big introductions, but I feel special behind that. Well, thank you.
But you are absolutely amazing. So I told you, I'm gonna give you your flowers every single time.
Thank you.
So, like I said, we just do this just in regards to just dialogue and how things are going. So let me know like what resonated with you so far in regards to this series that I've created.
I don't think there's nothing that you talked about in the initial video that I I could not resonate with. When you
Okay.
go from like being a young parent, going into hospitals, going into schools, having to advocate for yourself, you see all these different things like play out
Hmm.
where you are either the safe Black or the not safe Black, or
Hmm.
you're going into a work professional setting and somebody's not treating you right, and you go home and tell you like your grandma or somebody, and they're saying, well, you better be lucky you had that job. So reinforcing those old ideas of be grateful for what you have. There's so
Hmm.
much that you said in that video that made me realize like this is so timely and we need to talk more about it in open spaces because we neglect to talk about it, especially in a way that's palatable for other people to take it in
Yep.
and really want to like understand what we're talking about in these spaces when we have conversations like such. So that's my take on what resonated. It's nothing that did not resonate. I just been through way too much in life to feel
But
like it wasn't any of it was not needed. All of it is needed
Well, thank you.
drastically.
I truly, truly appreciate it. That's why I made it. I mean, I've gone through my own, struggles and things as such that have made me be like, you know what? Like, I can't be the only one. And a lot of the times, we're not the only ones who go through things. We're just more or less in regards in silos. And I feel like we go through so much trauma, like you were talking about in regards to like the narratives that we have from our elders of, I've always told, don't wear your feelings on your sleeve. You cry
Right.
too much, but we're human and it's okay to in fact have
Mhm.
feelings. We heal so quickly. I mean, you can even think of certain times like when a baby falls or something, what's the first thing we say? That ain't hurt. That ain't hurt. Yes, it did. Yes,
Right.
it did.
Let that baby have some mental health.
Like let that baby feel that feeling for a second. Like,
Right.
goodness gracious. So how did the video make you talked about like what resonated and things and such, but like what feelings did you feel when it resonated?
So a couple different feelings. A feeling of gratefulness now that we're having this conversation. You're bringing stuff to the table that should be brought to the table, and conversations are going to be had. So grateful for that, right? But sad that we're still having the same conversation that we've been having for way too long to be
Mhm.
accepted, to be treated fairly, to be understood, to be looked at as an equal, to be able to show up in spaces as ourselves. I think that we should have overcome many of the obstacles that we have and we are facing.
Mhm.
It's just kind of like we're just stagnant and we're fighting these things, but no change is really being seen, and no
Mhm.
conversations are really being had. And the conversations that we do have about them is surface level, and that they don't really get the time and attention that it really needs. So if we get like a training in any space of what our conversation should look like or anything, it's kind of halfway done.
Mhm.
Either we're in a space of a shared space and we can't really say what we want,
Right.
or if we do say what we want, it's combated with emotions of other people's who trumps our idea, and then we shut down and say, okay, we see this ain't going nowhere, and we
Right.
kind of just let it go.
Right.
And
Because we have
so,
to meet the status quo, right?
right,
Hmm.
but it's all still very unresolved in that moment. Nothing really had gotten sorted out or solidified by anything. No understanding on both sides of what where we could have met in mind space, and it
Hmm.
just doesn't work like that. So that's where I think a little bit of sadness and frustration comes from in that space.
Hmm. Yeah, I truly understand. Like that really resonates with me too. So, have you ever felt like positioned or know someone that's had to, in fact, be the safe black? And what does the safe black sound like to you? Or what are the characteristics of being the safe black?
Yeah. So I feel like at some point in time, I've been the safe black. My
Okay.
sister has been the safe black, depending on the situation.
Hmm.
Um, Based off our knowledge, based off our temperaments, based
Yep.
off just different things, our different compositions at the time. So I would say sometimes I feel like in certain spaces I'm the safe black. And it kind of looks as if like they'll look at me like I'm the translator to deliver to the same message to everybody else that's sitting at the table.
Hmm.
And then they're looking at me because my temperament is probably milder than the other person. Or my tone will switch and I might code switch and I might be very professional. I might be very, my voice might go up a little bit. I might not show up as my authentic self because I'm trying to play a game of, let me just play this game to get my point across. And everybody doesn't show up like that. Some people's like, I'm coming to the table who I am, how I am, what should be acceptable, what should
Hmm.
be okay. Unfortunately, I think that when you show up like that, ears close a little bit
Like,
and
absolutely.
respect level goes down a little bit. And it's the way to like navigate, but not showing up 100%
Hmm.
yourself. And
Hmm.
so I think I've seen other people be the safe black. I've certainly feel like I've been a safe black at times. And yeah, so
I
that's
can
how
say
that
my,
looks for me.
I'm sorry. I myself, I can also say I've definitely been a safe black. I've always had the notion that like education, right, will take you far. I've always thought of proximity in regards to my vernacular, which we'll be talking about in later videos. The way I talk will create a safe space for me. Not realizing and recognizing that by doing that, that it's not saying that you're not supposed to get your education. It's not supposed to say that you're not supposed to be able to speak, American, standard English or whatnot, but just never lose your roots is pretty much what I've in
Right.
fact had to learn more or less as an adult and going through and navigating different spaces. Because if you don't sit here and check yourself, right, and or check the historical or ancestry background in regards to why you're trying to talk this way and or assimilate to a certain
Mhm.
environment, you never do, and then you feel lost of like, why
Right.
do I talk like this? Why am I not fitting in with my people? Why am I not able to connect with my people? Why do I feel like I have to be the safe black in order to have any type of recognition for my own identity?
Mhm.
Like those are kind of the questions that even myself, like your vulnerability of saying like you've done it and had to be before, I definitely have done it and had to be in different spaces before as well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I want to talk about like tokenism. So for you, how would you define tokenism? What does that person look like? And do you think that tokenism is okay in certain spaces or no?
So tokenism for me is kind of like inviting somebody to the party only because there's nobody else at the party that looks like them. Um, it's kind of having that person that represents a group of people, but they're kind of there to follow the lead, but not really have a voice. So I don't think tokenism really progresses anybody in any way. I
Mhm.
think it's really just the place to put a person and say, Great. Now that we didn't have anybody else that looks like you here, we'll invite you here into this
Mm-hmm.
space, no matter what your qualifications are,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I don't think that does anybody any good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I often, when I have conversations like this, a lot of people confuse like code switching or diversity or all of those into the aspects of like tokenism, which is different for me. And I'm not, I won't say I'm a professional in this arena, but I would say this for a fact. Tokenism is like that underrepresentation. We're just throwing you in there just cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
Diversity is saying I'm including people that are different
Yep.
because what they bring to the table is valuable. They
Absolutely.
have a knowledge, a skill set, a basis of understanding, and we just happen to look differently, act differently, have different religious, different preferences, and all the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the true sense of diversity to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then to code switch to be accepted in spaces is also different for me because you can be the token person of a group and they not listen to anything that you say.
Mm-hmm.
You're just there completely based off that. But then to say, I'm changing who I am only to get my point across or only to have be in this setting and be listened to or speak to somebody that I normally wouldn't have a conversation with, that's why I'm acting this way. So I guess if you separate those, tokenism will never serve anybody any good
Mm-hmm.
because you never get to show up as your authentic self. After you have
Absolutely.
those conversations with people, excuse me, after you have conversations with people and you're in certain settings, you can go home and still live with yourself because you were a little bit more proper. You
Mm-hmm.
showed up a little bit more pleasant. You showed up and you executed what you came to execute.
Mm-hmm.
But when you leave spaces as a token, you either have to stay a token or you have to realize that your value is not worth anything in that space when
Mm-hmm.
you're there and when you're on.
That's
So to
that
me, it's
concept.
different.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that was it. I was just saying that to me, it's a little different.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's that concept of when I was talking about the legacy of survival tactics, that concept of like the dimming of the light. Meaning that if I don't stay this person, in regards to this proximity to whiteness, if I can't stay in this space right here where they don't deem me worthy, I've gone from being gold to being maybe copper to a certain
Right.
extent. So, do you think that there is a benefit in regards to being that metaphorical golden woman and or golden man?
I'm gonna have to say it's a hard no for me
Okay. And why
because
not?
it's just still being that that placeholder. You're not really necessarily being the token to make any progress or to be heard. You're just really there to be seen, to say we included you into something that normally we probably wouldn't see you um in this space. So now you're just here. Your voice is not gonna get you nowhere because we're not really trying to listen to you. We just trying to say we met this quota. That's how I feel when you say token. It's like looking at something shiny in a room and saying that's real cute, but it's a statue. It makes no movement. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't progress anybody because once you're a token, I feel like it kind of puts you in a space where you're just seeing.
That's
You
up.
just like simply seeing. I think there are people that used it to their advantage to get from one place to say, oh, yes, I got this job title and move someplace else. But I think if you stay in that place, you don't get treated the way that you're supposed to, for sure.
Absolutely. You were talking about the psychological toll in regards to staying in that space of pretty much not even being able to a certain extent, like metaphorically recognize yourself because you've done so much to tailor yourself to be this person who you are, who your identity is not truly, right? So tell me, have you ever seen someone go from being metaphorically like being safe to being the person that's difficult now? And like, what does that look like and why do you think that happens?
Yeah, me. I I'm safe until I'm not safe, right?
Right.
So I would say I'm a safe person because I'm slow to anger. But
Yes.
when I'm angry, now I have lost all safeness because it's like, oh my gosh, now she's conducting herself differently. Oh no, she's standing up for herself.
So you were talking about the psychological toll that tokenism takes, where a person ideally cannot even recognize themselves and or because they've taken so much time to be within the proximity of something that they're not, or they've taken so much time to align in regards to what somebody else wants them to be that they can't even recognize themselves when they go home. So I wanted to know, like, have you ever seen someone like go from metaphorically being safe to keyword, as we say in corporate America, being difficult? And if so, why do you think this happens?
Yeah, me. I would say I'm safe until I'm not, right?
Mhm.
I would say that sometimes people don't realize that people have boundaries. And I'm slow to anger. But once I'm angry, now I'm angry. So all of what you thought was safe about me is now gone. And unfortunately, once somebody sees that angry side of you, even if they did you wrong, it's like, oh my gosh, she has boundaries. Oh my gosh, she responded to what I said. Oh my gosh, I thought what I said was okay, but when she came back with what she said, now I feel away because she has a standard of what her communication style is, right? So you're safe until you have something to say. I don't like that.
Mhm.
I'm going to push back on that. The way that made me feel is not appropriate. And so we're going to have to talk about that and have a full conversation about that. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, sometimes people don't want to hear what you have to say. They're not going to like what you have to say. They're not going to respect what you have to say. But as long as you stand firm on what you're going to say and what you mean by what you say, that's when you become not so safe no more. Because
Mhm.
it's like, oh my gosh, she was pliable yesterday. She was
That word.
willing to work with me yesterday. She was cool yesterday. But when she has an opinion, she ain't that cool no more. And when she
Mhm.
finds her voice, she's not that cool no more. And
Mhm.
when she has pushback on something, she ain't that good either. And I'm not really feeling her because she has a voice. And I'm not really feeling her because she's in a different position. And I'm not really feeling her because she shines differently in this light that she's in.
Mhm.
Even if the light is not bad, and even if there's not being disrespectful, but to say, I disagree with you sometimes is all you need to do. And it doesn't have to be an angry disagree. It can be just saying, we don't have the same opinion about something. And this is how I think this looks. And this is how you think it's look. And it could be perfectly fine for you to walk away from that table and say, we don't agree. But for that other person, now it's beef, or now it's drama, or now
Mhm.
I don't like her because, or now it's like she has a different opinion. So it's easy. It's a fine line between being the safe black and a not so safe black, because it just takes that one disagreement. And if you don't have somebody that's open minded and willing to communicate or listen, then it could be a disagreement that goes from just a regular disagreement to that person is against us. She's not with the policy. She gives too much feedback, and then they can perceive you as a problem because you had one disagreement,
Mhm.
one one outlook that wasn't the same, one thing that did not align. And so once that happens, it could be over from there.
You brought up really, really great points. Especially when you were talking about alignment, I wrote down the word complacency. Once you're no longer compliant, if we talk about policies and things like that, you become now at that point a liability. A liability in regards to that person's thought process, a liability in regards to that space. And what do we do with liabilities, right? So
Right.
tell me what you think, like in different spaces in regards to whether it's how about this, whether it's the leader of a library, a leader of a corporate organization, a leader of a school. What do you think leaders can do to move away from tokenism to create true equity and representation in spaces?
One, education, and not just in the form of just like school, but traveling, but having conversations with people, being extremely open minded, showing up in conversations authentic, willing to learn, willing to say the wrong things, and being willing to hear what is acceptable to say and what is acceptable for the other person without being angry or hurt behind it, or just really coming in authentic, right? I think deepening relationships with people makes a difference of all cultures, all ethnicities, all backgrounds, all religions. Travel is one of those ways that I feel like you get all of that in one. Like
Mhm.
go to another country and stay for a couple weeks. See if those people treat you right and how
Mhm.
good they treat you and how authentic they treat you and how welcoming they make you feel. And then you might come back and you might be like, I see that those people differently. No
Mhm.
matter the color, the race, the gender, the ethnicity, the anything, the culture, you go, you get treated beautifully, and then you're like, oh man, that's a whole nother experience. We can have those same dynamics at work,
Mhm.
at the library, at school, but it takes us to be willing to do the work to do that. Diversity is key. Showing up and allowing other people to show up in spaces that's qualified, looking around and saying, who's missing in this space? What skill set is missing in this space? Who could provide that? And then also like nepotism. Let's stop bringing in our cousins and our friends and our sisters' daughter and our people because they all look like us or we trying to hook them up with a job. But really give people the chance to shine with the skill set that they have and hire qualified people
Mhm.
that are able to do the work in a capacity that is. Because when you hire the cousin, they usually have the same mindset as the cousin, right?
Mhm.
And you don't get to open the doors for people to come in because now it's so sold up with all the people that know each other.
Right.
And that mindset usually it's usually this type of mindset. We all meet of the minds in some way.
Mhm.
And when we start to open the door and let other people in, they get to challenge us in a different way. A lot
Mhm.
of people see challenges as different or hard, or that a challenge is our argument. A challenge is saying, I'm seeing something different in this situation that we probably could try differently.
Mhm.
Are you willing or are you not willing? Because if you're willing and it works, great. And if you're not willing, then it continues to go the same way, which is also not so great. So those things are what I think that businesses and corporations and educators and in corporate spaces and all spaces, police officers, I think these are things that they need to consider when they take the roles that they're taking. Am I an open-minded person? Am I willing to have a conversation with this yet? You
Mhm.
know, am I going to do this differently in this city than I would in this city? Is
Mhm.
my conversation going to look the same with this person or this black woman as it will a black man? Or is it the white woman versus a white man? Does my everything in me allow me to be equal and even? And I
Mhm.
think that's something that we have to consider when we have these conversations. Am
Mhm.
I even kilted person along every conversation I have? In every
Absolutely.
interview, am I seeing the person for who they are in front of me? Am I judging their applications based off the name that I see across the top? Am I asking the same questions in every interview? Am I giving somebody a fair shot? Period. I think all of those are things that we can do in spaces that make us valuable, open minded, communicate better, and have a sense of diversity that's really worth having when we have those real conversations.
Those are really great points. Miss Christina, you doing it. You doing it tonight. I
Thanks.
want to talk to you. So you were talking about like the reinforcements and where it shows up in different workspaces and things as such. Do you feel that we as Black people that we enforce tokenism as well? Or do you think this is more or less with other ethnicities? And if we do enforce this, I feel like you kind of answered the question already of kind of how to unlearn it, but do you want to expand upon it?
Yeah, we definitely hype tokenism up sometimes. We do. And I think we do it because we think like, oh, you finally made it to that space
Mhm.
where you're getting paid more. Or you're finally making it to that space where your degree was supposed to get you. Or you're finally doing this thing that's different. Or you're finally having those conversations with people that you should be having conversation with. And I'm proud of you for being in that space, right? But you're losing you being in that space at the same time. Because your great ideas may not ever fall on listening ears. And you're going to have to take that new role or that position and fill out a new application with a new title or something else. And you're going to have to work just as hard to be accepted someplace else. Even though you deserve what you're supposed to be deserving in this space. You should not have to go look for the opportunity to be valued anywhere. You should be valued where you are. And I don't think it's fair for us to say, great job being mediocre. But unfortunately, we can't always show up 100% because we'll be looked at as the not so safe Black. They're intimidating. They're vocal. They're educated. They know what they're doing. You showing out. You doing too much. How many times have I heard that? And I'm usually the safe Black.
Message.
You know what I mean?
A message.
So to get in certain spaces and somebody like, she's a threat. And it's like, no, I'm just Christina. I'm very mild-mannered. I'm cool as a cucumber. But to have an opinion to some people considers you as a threat. And so it's unfortunate that in those spaces, you can't show up as yourself. And I feel like our way of hyping our friends up is, we want to see our people win, right? But I don't want to see them win at the expense of losing themselves. Like, I want you to always be authentic. I want you to win, but I want you to win as you. I don't want you to win as the token you or the person that can't show up authentic. And I don't want you to have to lose who you are as a person or forget your values to show up to work any day. You're valuable the way that you are. And I want people to learn to go into spaces with their head up and be valuable just like that. Because to me, that's important. But I also have to say this, it's hard to do. Because I would downplay me in a minute and make myself small just so I don't outshine somebody else. So I have not mastered that yet. But what I can say is that I show up authentic because I'm passionate about the work that I do, passionate about everything that I do. So I can say I show up authentic with a pure heart and happy to do the work. But I cannot say I have mastered the art of not dimming my own light to fit into a room where my light might be brighter than everybody else's. I have not mastered that. So I can just say I show up authentic, but not as authentic as I should, because I still haven't turned that light up. So,
and that's the sad part, no intention to go on TikTok trends or anything, but I'll be thinking about that concept of like, hype me up, and you hype yourself up in regards to what you can do. But what happens when you can't be yourself within that room? And unfortunately, so often, people who don't think intelligently may think that like a Black woman going to a space means that we just want to be loud. We just want to be rowdy in a space. And that means us authentically showing up. No, we want to come in as our beautiful, brilliant, radiant selves. We want to be able to say what's on our mind eloquently and with complete etiquette, just like anyone else does. But a lot of the time, it's more or less that concept of when someone else says something, oh my gosh, oh, goodness gracious, that is so amazing. And it can be the same idea that you had, that someone just literally paid no attention and or no recognition to.
Absolutely.
So we're just trying to, dismantle those things, call these things out as they are, and be able. And I would encourage you, and as to the viewers as well, too, don't dim that light, none whatsoever. You let it shine from here all the way to Timbuktu. Let that light shine. Bright like a diamond.
Yeah.
So let's see.
I just want to point out something that you said really quick, because I think it's like so key to what we do in life, right? And it's just that fact of showing up and showing up as who we are. But the intimidation behind that from some people if we ask the right question or if we say the thing and somebody, it's like I always heard, you can say something, but get you a white woman to say it behind you, and then you're really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then have
I've
that
heard that
person
before.
tell you, the rest of the group, like Christina just said that, just like have somebody repeat what you said or get a white woman to repeat what you said, and then you're now hurt all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And why does it take that? I guess that's my thing. And that's why I think that we subconsciously, not all the time intentionally, but we subconsciously say, what I'm saying is not important because we know that it's going to slide past somebody's head and they're not going to catch what we say. But if it's
Mm-hmm.
somebody else says it, then we know that they're going to say it. I can call out 100 times where I've said something and it happened just the way that I said it was going to happen. But if you don't get nobody to agree with you in that space or
Mm-hmm.
nobody repeats it, then it just
Mm-hmm.
like falls on deaf ears. And then they'd be like, oh, I heard that before. I'm sure you did.
Mm-hmm. Right. And the
I'm sure
idea
you
of where did you hear it from? You don't ever pay homage in regards to where you heard it from. And so we have to learn to
absolutely
always be humble with someone else, either taking our ideas as their own and, of course, saying it to the recognition of other people, which that can
right.
take an emotional tone. But as Black women, we always have to decide to put our feelings to the side and get to the work and do what we have to do, right? That's
Right.
typically that typically is how it is. So I want to ask you, like, Amber, I'm gonna go back to the video. So tell me about like with that, what conversations did the video leave you like wanting next to have?
It's really that reinforcement of be grateful for what you have in the moment, that our the generation before us gives, right? That whole conversation of like you going home and say they treat you like this and they doing this and they doing this. I don't know. I know that the people before me were extremely strong, right? Mentally, physically, emotionally, like they went through it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go through it, right? I feel like we should not have to go through it to the extent that we're going through it in this day and age. Um, I think our mental health, our physical health, us as people, we deserve more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we have to be in a space where we say and advocate for ourselves amongst our own family members sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that it's okay for me to want more. And I shouldn't have to go to work and feel sick or be stressed or be angry or get treated a certain type of way.
Mm-hmm.
And you reinforce the fact that what you getting paid more than I ever got paid. You should be grateful for that. Yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful for the job. But why must I get treated poorly? Or why must somebody feel like they can treat me any type of way? Or why must I go to work and not be heard? Or why must I do all the things that you were doing in the past and nothing really changed? Like the
Mm-hmm.
same stuff is going on as it was before, but it's just happening a little bit differently now. You know, slavery we can say is the prison, school to prison pipeline. We can say that the modern day slavery. We can say government and policies is the new red line. We could relate all these things to different things. The banking system and how it's skewed. Um, things that we've been left out of for so long. But why must we continue to think that just because we got a little bit, we have to settle for that? Because nobody else is given that narrative. Nobody else is taught, like, be grateful for what you have right now. Like, we're taught to be grateful for what we have, and we should always be grateful for what we have, but we shouldn't be grateful for being treated badly in spaces that we do good work. And I don't think that's fair for us to have to deal with those issues in that way. So I think that's what I'm excited to hear more about because I feel like it's happened to me by people my age,
Mm-hmm.
people older than me. I can hear my grandfather saying certain things that made me realize that it was so bad in his time that the way that I have it now is like a dream for him.
Right.
And I don't want that to be my child's dream, you know? I don't want them to have to go through so much for it to feel like that's where I was trying to go. That's what
Right.
I was trying to get. And he
Right.
worked 2 full-time jobs, and so I saw his struggle during that time. So yeah.
Right. So, Miss Christina, I want to tell you thank you so much for coming to Surviving and Thriving the Black Experience. I really don't want to cut this short at all, so I would love to invite you to do a part two for us to, in fact, dive more in depth, especially in regards to the elders, in regards to narratives, because you were breaking down so many key factors in regards to who's missing at the table. Why does it have to be like an era of having to be complacent in order for your identity and or you to be able to show up in different spaces. So I'd love for us to be able to continue that, but we are out of time, and I would love to thank you so much. I will
Oh
be going
man.
ahead and putting your business subscription, your business email and everything with the shades of almond. So I will be putting that in my description. So please make sure you check that out, and we will be doing a part two. So everyone stay tuned, and I will see you next week. Thank you, Miss Christina.
Thank you.